to state my case. I hold my tongue, I know I say something I regret. Don't blame me, just strike the match and walk away. Let me in, I've seen better days. Don't lay down, take it on goddamn, and tell me that you want it, you want it, you want it, you want it. Don't lay down, take it on goddamn, and tell me that you want it, you want it, you said you want it. If you bring the fuel, I'll bring the flames. And set it off, not what you want, I'm what you need. A chicken time bomb, just strike the match and let it take. Let me in, lighter, let it blaze. Don't lay down, take it on goddamn, and tell me that you want it, you want it, you want it, you want it. Don't lay down, take it on goddamn, and tell me that you want it, you want it, you said you want it. Said a lie would understate my case. I hold my tongue, I know I say something I regret. Don't blame me, just strike the match and walk away. Let me in, I've seen better days. Don't lay down, take it on goddamn, and tell me that you want it, you want it, you want it, you want it. Don't lay down, take it on goddamn, and tell me that you want it, you want it, you said you want it.
Well, for the first time in the podcast, I'm gonna have to go alone. Even though it kind of looks that way, anyways, on the camera, but I'm gonna have to go alone tonight, guys, because there is no Mark. Mark is busy doing other stuff. He's out with mates at the moment and forgot to tell me that he was not going to be here. So I'm going to have to go on alone tonight at the podcast. So welcome everyone to the hashtag 115 podcast. We do this weekly here on twitch.tv/goin5 and always sometimes uploaded to YouTube the very next day. And I'm going to address that right now. Last week, the podcast was not uploaded to YouTube because when we did this live, I had forgot to press the start record button. I forgot to press the button, so the very next day I had to sit down. I went to go re-record it, but there's just issues, so I just left it for that Friday. And the Saturday I sat down, got to re-record everything, but when I went to upload to YouTube, I went to upload to YouTube on like 3 separate times. The first time I published it, it didn't go live. I don't know why, it just did not go live. The second time, I deleted the original video, re-uploaded it, and when it got to like literally to the end, where it's like 99% proceeding or 95%, whatever it is, it just said video deleted, and I was like, what? I didn't delete the video. What the hell you want about video deleted? So that literally was just gone. I couldn't get it uploaded to YouTube, so I do apologize about that. If you do want to end up checking out that podcast episode, it is here in my video stream, my past streams here on Twitch. So if you are watching this on YouTube and you did miss out on last week's podcast, do be sure to go to twitch.tv/goin5 and check out the podcast from last week. We spoke about the Superstar Shakeup and what our thoughts were and how, well, me and Liam, because again Mark wasn't there for that one, how me and Liam did on the predictions and how, you know, how bad we predicted the Superstar Shakeup. But tonight we have a few like strange things to do, like this. It's such a weird, exciting, crazy world in wrestling right now with this Superstar Shakeup. Like, I've not been this excited since 2016 with the original brand split. So I'm quite excited, and we're going to go through all that right here, right now. But just before we go into that, I just want to give a shout out to my friend Rod. And this is kind of like promoting him without him knowing. He has no idea I'm doing this. But if you go to twitch.tv/JustRodriguez and follow him and just watch his streams, he's absolutely amazing. And I couldn't promote this guy anymore. His streams are absolutely hilarious. You seriously can take my word for it. You have a good time at his streams. I love going to Rod's streams. And I just want to shout out his channel because I really do feel like he deserves, you know, more people coming in and interacting with him than he actually gets, because he is just absolutely hilarious and everything. So please, if you do have a moment, go to twitch.tv/JustRodriguez and check out one of his streams because they're absolutely hilarious. I seriously could not recommend Rod anymore. He streams mostly he keeps to Fortnite and plays it with me. I'm trying to get him to play some Overwatch. He plays that's Rainbow Six Siege. That's the game I was thinking of, and Tom Clancy's when his internet is bad. But I do, you know, recommend you go check out Rod. He's absolutely brilliant. Love his streams. Always happy to be there with him, and I could not support him anymore. But with that being done, now let's get into why we're here with the podcast, and that's wrestling. So this week we had just regular old episodes of Raw and SmackDown, but it felt, the start of the week, it felt so weird. And because this podcast is going to feel so weird doing it right now because there is no Mark, and there's going to be like no one to back chat with. So if this podcast is a lot quicker today than it normally is, that's why, because I got no one to talk to. But this week was very, very weird. It's almost like a shake-up to the shake-up with this week. So we started off this week with a bit of news that wasn't broke by WWE until Tuesday, and that was so last week in the Superstar Shakeup we had Andrade Cien Almas and Aleister Black go to Raw. Well, at the very beginning of this week, I think it must have been like Sunday night, Saturday night, WWE.com had updated their things to say that they were on SmackDown, meaning Andrade, who was part of the shake-up and put on Raw from SmackDown, was put back to SmackDown, and Aleister Black, who was on Raw, was now on SmackDown, which just confused the absolute hell out of me. It was such a weird thing, and I know I spoke about it last week. If you watched last week's podcast, that I was a little upset. Okay, I was a little upset with Almas going to Monday nights, but at the same time I was excited for it. But it was a fresh start, and I was all in for it to see Almas, head first straight into Monday Night Raw. But literally next week it's back to SmackDown Live. So I'm not going to say what the reasons might be, because nobody really knows other than the people themselves why Almas went back to SmackDown Live. But it was really, really weird. To put this guy onto Raw in the shake-up looked like he was actually going to get a bit of a push, because they were promoting him like hell to put him back to SmackDown Live. It was just a really weird thing. And Aleister Black, I know I said last week I would prefer Aleister Black and Ricochet not to be a tag team, but I would have preferred Ricochet. I said last week Ricochet should have been on SmackDown, Aleister Black Raw. I always feel like Raw is for the more serious characters and SmackDown is for the more I don't want to be mean, but the more entertaining, kind of like high flyers and comedy guys, we'll say. So I'm happy with Black being separated from Ricochet. Just the two of them together are great, but on their own can be amazing. So I was really, really happy with how that ultimately transpired, with Black going to SmackDown Live. And although we didn't get to see him fully make his SmackDown Live, not debut, but full-time appearance, we did get a promo from Aleister Black. So hopefully they'll maybe promote him to Money in the Bank and he'll be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but nobody really knows. So but happy to see Aleister Black on his own, and Almas being swapped from brand to brand is just confusing to say the least. But another change they made this week as well was the Viking Experience is now the Viking Raiders, and apparently they changed their name again to the Viking Warriors, which, what are they doing? They cannot decide on one name. Just make them War Raiders again. In fact, I was happy with Viking Raiders. I was completely happy with that. It's just pick a name, WWE, because you're just gonna make us lose interest in people that have no direction, no name, and it's just not a good time for everybody. It really isn't WWE. So also another change of name, we got Robert Roode, and if you don't know, because I know a lot of people don't know, because there's so many people complaining about his name change, even though it's not technically a big name change. Like, it's not like the War Raiders, where they had a full team name change and a full superstar name change. They were Hanson and Rowe, and now they're Yvonne and Eric, I believe. Whereas Robert Roode, formerly known as Bobby Roode, he was Robert Roode in TNA. That's how he started off in TNA, was as Robert Roode, and then he transitioned to Bobby Roode. And from Bobby Roode went to WWE, and now it seems like they're really starting to do a whole new, fresh look on Robert Roode. I feel like on the main roster is Bobby Roode, who was never given the opportunities he really, really needed. So now as Robert Roode, a lot of people were upset that he beat Ricochet and saying that it was a bit of a bury. But you got to think of it this way: technically, both now are fresh stars. They're fresh stars. Ricochet is not in any sort of storyline or not being put into anything at the moment, so one loss is not going to hurt him. Whereas Robert Roode, I keep trying to go call him Bobby Roode. He is not Bobby Roode. He's Robert Roode now. It looks like they're going to start slowly pushing him up, and hopefully, maybe be the person to take the Universal title off Seth Rollins. If not, he'll get another US title run out of it. But I'm very, very interested to see what they do with Robert Roode, because it really looked like a fresh start, and it's weird because even though Bobby Roode has been around for over a year now, I think we're coming to 2 years soon. Having Robert Roode is almost like a fresh new thing, like we've never seen him before. So he's even grown a bit of facial hair, just one mustache, and that's it, to kind of go along with the character. But you know, oh god, they've been promoting his mustache all over social media. I think he's gonna slowly but surely turn into the next Rick Rude. So please God, don't turn him into the next Rick Rude. Keeping on the kind of making things fresh and changing things up, Bray Wyatt reappeared this week in WWE on Monday Night Raw in a promo where he's not Bray Wyatt. He is Bray Wyatt, but he's not himself, if you would say. He's more of a kid-friendly Bray Wyatt now, instead of this dark, demented Bray Wyatt who was worshipping and following Sister Abigail. As we know, Sister Abigail rendered obsolete by Matt Hardy. So I think that was a smart, clever way of keeping that a thing. That Sister Abigail is gone, and maybe you might slowly but surely Sister Abigail might come back. I know the very next day I put up on Twitter, I said, oh God, please let this be a dream. But just, you know what? He had one promo. That's all we've seen. So I think just sit back. Even though I know a lot of us are very negative about it, and a lot of us are just like, what have you done to Bray Wyatt? I think just sit back, see what the WWE have planned with him, because we don't know what he could be doing. I feel like, because I've watched the promo, I don't know how many times now, and it's it's almost like he's got this new life in him. You know, he just seems like he's more into it. You know, not to say he wasn't into the Bray Wyatt character originally, because he really was, and it was really good. But it seems like he knows it's a fresh start for him. He wants it to work, and I hope to God it works out for him, because if it doesn't, Bray Wyatt could be slowly but surely on the verge of departing out of the WWE. So, and I don't want that. I love Bray Wyatt. I've been a fan of Bray Wyatt for such a long time. Oh, my phone's gone off. Such a fan of Bray Wyatt for such a long time. I don't want to see him leave WWE. Next up on my list to talk about is, so last week on the podcast we spoke about how Finn Balor went to SmackDown Live, and we weren't sure where Samoa Joe was going to end up. I had a feeling he would end up on Raw with the United States title, with Finn Balor going to SmackDown with the Intercontinental title, but it wasn't on the list. It wasn't announced, and nobody really knew. So this week we actually got that answer, and he is on the Monday Night Raw roster. So we kind of expected it, but you know what? We didn't really know where he was going to end up. So it seems like he is kind of being mixed on Raw between the top tier scene and the United States title scene. I really thought that he would have a bit more of a run on SmackDown Live with the United States title, because it looked like they were going to try and finally make that US title something again. Because Joe has been a great US champion so far. You know, the quick wins, make himself look strong, tough. No one could beat me. You know, if he started doing like little open challenges and won every once in a while, I think it would really help him, and it would really help the belt. You know, if like bigger names started answering the open challenge. So Samoa Joe ended up going to Monday Night Raw, but so did Cesaro. Now Cesaro got swapped to Monday Night Raw as well, which was weird because he was on SmackDown last week, and it was right last year that Cesaro ended up going to SmackDown with Sheamus. But the interesting thing here is Sheamus. So I've been told he's possibly injured. I don't know, but he is down on the SmackDown roster. So could we be seeing the end of the bar? I hope we don't, but at the same time, it's like, I think both of them need a fresh start. Both of them have, you know, made themselves top stars now with the bar tag team. And if it's done and they both continue on and go their own separate ways, I hope the best for Cesaro. I hope he gets a title reign very soon. But I hope the best for Sheamus as well, because Sheamus is a guy that WWE likes to put their faith in, but the crowd kind of dips out of him. But I hope the bar thing really has helped the crowd get over with Sheamus. But for Cesaro on Raw, just don't stick him in another random ass tag team. Please God, don't stick him in another random ass tag team. Like, the bar was random, and it was random to the point that it worked. Both men were able to like use their strength, and their, you know, I won't say their same style, because Sheamus is more of a brawler and he's more of a technician and a brawler. But it just ended up working out with their personalities and stuff. So hopefully, both men, you know, come out on the right side. I want to say, with the separation possibly of the bar. There was a few small shakeups that we found out this week. Jinder Mahal is back on SmackDown Live. So, and that was a bit of an interesting one. I didn't think Jinder Mahal ended up back on SmackDown Live. A lot of people think it's because a lot of people are kind of hoping and praying that hopefully this means another Jinder Mahal title run. But please God, don't give another Jinder Mahal title run. Even though I miss hating him because I'm not had to hate him, please, oh God, don't give him another title run. I couldn't go with that. Speaking of title runs, AJ Styles could be on course to another championship title run, as this past Monday on Raw he became the new number one contender for the Universal, not the Intercontinental title. That's on SmackDown. The Universal Championship. AJ Styles managed to come out on top. I think he had to go through a triple threat match first, and then he had to beat Baron Corbin. And the winner of him, Baron Corbin, will go on to Money in the Bank. Now, a lot of fans are saying, "Oh, this is too soon. Oh, it's ruined. It should have been at SummerSlam. Blah 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 blah." If you're one of those fans, seriously, shut up. I know I can be negative sometimes. I can be very negative with wrestling things, but you know what? If that's the way WWE is going to go with it, that's that. I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to complain. If we're getting AJ versus Seth right now, I'm happy we're getting AJ versus Seth right now. In fact, when AJ won, I didn't care. AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, bringing out, that's going to be one hell of a match. Does that mean that SummerSlam could be ruined for a big match for the Universal title? No, you could add AJ Styles and maybe Drew McIntyre. Add him into the fold. You know, you got a good triple threat match there. You know, or even, who else? Even give Samoa Joe a chance at the Universal title. There's just people out there that can put on a good match with Seth Rollins or AJ Styles if they need to and they're given the right time. So just, it's not too soon to have the match. You know, we've had AJ versus Cena, AJ versus all these people that wasn't at WrestleMania and wasn't at a SummerSlam. In fact, AJ versus Cena, their first match was at Money in the Bank. Kevin Owens versus John Cena. They had a match at Elimination Chamber for Owens' debut. They don't need to save these matches for, the big pay-per-views, because they've also got to sell these pay-per-views. Even though I love Baron Corbin, as a lot of people have said, if Baron Corbin was showing the fold, people aren't going to care, and they're not going to buy the pay-per-view. So it's all about selling, and all about just getting that damn thing out there. So just sit back, relax, watch, and see AJ versus Seth Rollins. If you're going to SummerSlam, that was your match you were hoping for. It's just tough luck. And that's all it is. Speaking of Money in the Bank and title matches, Becky Lynch is going to defend both titles in one night. Yes. And the thing is, I like when Superstar did that. When Seth Rollins first did that, when he defended the WWE title and the United States title at the same night, and Night of Champions against Sting and Cena, I loved that. I thought that was such a cool, unique idea, and I was so excited for that match. So, Becky Lynch is now doing it. Becky 2 belt. I wonder, will they have her defend it at the beginning and then later on the show, or just back to back? So this way they take one belt off her, and if they do take a belt off her, I hope it's the Raw Women's title. Actually, you know what? No. Because I feel like Raw needs Becky. So if Charlotte beats her and Charlotte goes into a rivalry with Bayley, I'm happy with that. Just as long as they take one of the belts off her, so we have two separate women's divisions going for two separate belts. Because I was worried they were going to unify, and I'm still worried that they're going to unify the women's titles and just have the one singles division and the one tag division. Because fair enough, the tag division, they need that because there's not that many women on the roster to make up tag teams. So I'm worried that they'll do that. So I hope Becky does lose a belt at Money in the Bank. And when it comes to the Money in the Bank ladder matches, I don't think anything has been announced for the men's ladder match just yet. But I know the women's Money in the Bank ladder match participants will be announced, I believe, next Monday on Raw in a Moment of Bliss segment. So hopefully we'll get our names, all our names in there, and this time next week we might be able to make some predictions here on the podcast. But sticking to SmackDown Live and the announcement of title matches, Kevin Owens turned on Kofi Kingston. Big O was at ringside, I believe, to a Kofi Kingston versus Nakamura match. So is Xavier Woods. Rusev would come in, cause a disqualification. Chaos would unfold. And next thing you know,